マジパンツなんですか？いいんですか？
It started with a single door, one step across its threshold, and his life would change forever. He wasn't forced inside, no, he walked willingly. A man chasing a dream, a struggling artist promised a chance to become famous. All he had to do was survive. The room was small and cold, with blank walls that seemed to close in on him. There was no bed, no food, no clothes, just a stack of papers, a pen, and a bottle of water. At first he laughed. This is the challenge, he thought. I can handle this. The rules were simple, or so they told him. Every necessity, food, clothing, comfort, had to be earned. To win, he needed to participate in endless contests, writing thousands of entries in the hopes of receiving something useful. But what they didn't tell him was this. The door wouldn't open until the value of everything he won reached an impossible goal. And until then, he would remain alone. What he didn't know was that his every move was being watched. Millions of strangers peered into his little room, witnessing his struggle, his hunger, his despair. To them, he wasn't a man. He was entertainment, his first prize, a tiny pack of jelly. It wasn't much, but it kept him alive. For a moment, he felt hope, but hope doesn't last long in a place like this. Days turned into weeks. The packages arrived sporadically. A bag of rice, a stuffed toy, a single shoe. Most of it was useless, but he had no choice. The silence in the room was crushing. He filled it with his own voice, talking to himself, talking to the toy. Anything to feel less alone. Isolation does strange things to the mind. He began to hear things, whispers in the walls, faint laughter in the distance. He told himself it wasn't real, but how could he be sure? The food he won often came with its own challenges. Without tools or fire, he was forced to eat raw meat, risking sickness just to survive another day. The prizes began to mock him. A bicycle in a room too small to ride, a TV antenna with no television, a pair of pants he couldn't wear. He started to realize that the game wasn't about survival. It was about humiliation. The cameras captured it all. Every moment of despair, every crack in his sanity. And the people watching? They cheered, they laughed at his misery, rooted for his small victories, and kept watching as he descended further into madness. One day, a package arrived. He opened it, expecting food or something useful. Instead, he found a pair of women's underwear, used, too small to wear, a cruel joke at his expense. He stared at it for hours, realizing just how far he'd fallen. The room became a prison, not just for his body but for his mind. He stopped writing as much, staring at the walls, mumbling incoherently. Time became meaningless. Days, weeks, months, they all blurred together. The people watching didn't care. For them, it was a spectacle. For him, it was a slow, agonizing descent into oblivion. After 335 days, nearly a year of isolation, he finally reached the goal. He thought it was over, that he would finally be free. But the door didn't open. Instead, he was moved to another room, another game, another nightmare. That be why the time had ended. He wasn't the same. The man who walked through that door was gone, replaced by someone hollow, broken. They said it was just a game. But to him, it was something far worse. A prison of the mind and soul. Would you walk through that door, knowing what waits on the other side?